Welcome to Quickcasters, where we kind of like break down big stories, and try to give you some insights.
Yeah, exactly.
Today, we are going to be diving deep into this escalating conflict that seems to be happening between Israel and Iran.
Yeah, it's a very complex situation with implications that really do go global.
So let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So to set the stage, this all began with what seemed to be, a routine flight.
Right.
And an Iranian cargo plane was on its way somewhere when all of a sudden it was intercepted and brought down.
Yeah, and here's where it really gets interesting. This cargo was not your, average cargo.
Right.
Israel, with the U.S. bagging them, is alleging that this plane was actually carrying millions in cash.
Wow.
Which was intended to go to armed groups in Lebanon.
So this is a major move by Israel. I mean, what are they trying to achieve by doing something like this?
I think it signals a pretty significant shift in strategy. They're trying to weaken Iran's influence without actually directly engaging them militarily. Right.
So it's almost like they're cutting off the supply lines in a war.
Interesting.
No money, no weapons, no influence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a calculated maneuver, I think, but it definitely has far-reaching consequences.
And I'm sure we're going to see those play out.
Absolutely.
And what was Iran's response? Because I can't imagine they were too pleased about this.
Oh, they were not pleased at all. I mean, immediately they denounced this action. They called it a declaration of war, flat out.
Wow.
And they vowed to retaliate.
So this is obviously a very tense situation. How has the international community responded?
Yeah, it's sent shockwaves through the international community. There have been some countries who've condemned it, some who are offering support.
Right.
So everyone's kind of picking sides a little bit, and the potential for this to escalate is very real.
And what I find really interesting about this is the level of sophistication that was involved, to take down this plane.
Oh, absolutely. Both Israel and the U.S. used their Patriot missile defense systems to intercept this Iranian plane.
I mean, these systems are incredibly advanced. They can track and engage targets at super high altitudes with pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
It's a reminder of how technologically advanced this conflict really is.
Definitely. And speaking of technological advancements, we've also seen a maritime attack unfold recently, too.
Oh, yeah.
Houthi rebels in Yemen, who a lot of people believe have Iranian backing, launched a surprise attack at nighttime on the Israeli port of Ashdod using speedboats.
Now, this attack was bold. The port of Ashdod is absolutely crucial to Israel's economy and their security.
Right.
It's a major hub for their trade and for their military operations. So by targeting Ashdod, the Houthis weren't just, trying to make a statement. They were trying to land a strategic blow.
So this is another major escalation in an already tense situation.
Absolutely.
And that's where we'll leave off for now. We'll be back with more after a quick word from our sponsors. Make sure you subscribe to Quickcasters and hit that notification bell so you don't miss part 2 of this crucial deep dive into the Israel-Iran conflict. And while you're waiting, let us know in the comments what you find most intriguing about this situation so far. We'll be reading your responses and incorporating them into our discussion in part 2.
Yeah, we want to hear from you guys.
So before the break, we were talking about that Houthi speedboat attack on the Israeli port.
Right, Ashdod.
Yeah.
This attack really shows how much more powerful these non-state actors are becoming. Like the Houthis, they often get support from countries like Iran, and they're able to pull off these sophisticated and daring attacks. It's really changing how we think about warfare.
And Israel didn't just sit back and do nothing.
No, they responded immediately.
Right. Their Navy took care of that threat pretty quickly. Showed everyone they were serious about protecting themselves.
Exactly. Sent a clear message.
But it didn't end there.
No, unfortunately not. The Houthis decided to up the ante and retaliated by launching a bunch of ballistic missiles towards Israel. And this is where things get even more concerning.
Yeah, ballistic missiles, those are a whole different ballgame compared to speedboats.
Oh, absolutely. They can travel a lot farther, carry a much bigger punch.
Right.
So the threat level is way higher.
And it makes you wonder, how did the Houthis get their hands on those kinds of weapons?
Yeah, that's the big question. And a lot of people think that Iran is the answer.
Right.
They've been accused of giving the Houthis money, weapons training, even missile technology.
So basically, Iran's using the Houthis to do their dirty work.
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. It's part of Iran's strategy in the region. They want to have influence and achieve their goals without directly fighting anyone.
So they use these groups like the Houthis as a kind of stand-in.
It's a very intricate web of relationships.
Yeah.
And it can be really hard to pinpoint exactly who's behind what.
So we have the Houthis launching ballistic missiles. probably with Iran's help at Israel. And Israel feels like they have to respond.
Right. It's a recipe for a much bigger conflict.
And that's exactly what happened next. The U.S. got involved.
Right. They stepped in to protect their ally.
Used their own missile defense systems to take out those Houthi missiles before they could reach Israel.
Yeah, it shows just how committed the U.S. is to protecting their interests in the region.
But it also raises the question of just how far they're willing to go.
Absolutely. Every time those defense systems are activated, it's a stark reminder of how close we are to a much bigger war.
And the U.S. didn't stop there.
No, they decided to send a very clear message to both the Houthis and Iran, launching airstrikes in Yemen.
Wow.
And we're not talking small-scale stuff here. We're talking B-52 bombers, precision-guided munitions.
So a full-on aerial campaign.
To try and cripple the Houthis' ability to fight and cut off the support they're getting from Iran.
It's a huge escalation.
It shows that the U.S. is not afraid to use its military might. But it also makes you worry about what the unintended consequences might be.
Right, because even with all that fancy technology, there's always the risk of hurting civilians.
Absolutely. And it could make the whole region even less stable.
It's a stark reminder that all this fighting has a real human cost.
Yeah, we tend to get caught up in the politics and the technology, but we can't forget that real people are caught in the middle of this.
It's a tragedy.
And as we keep watching this unfold, we need to remember those human stories.
So right now, things are looking pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it's a very volatile situation.
Israel, Iran, the U.S., all these different groups pulling in different directions.
Right. It's almost impossible to say what's going to happen next. But it wouldn't be surprising to see things escalate even further.
So Quickcasters community, I want to hear from you.
For this conflict.
Share your thoughts in the comments down below. Your perspectives are so valuable to this conversation. We'll be back in just a bit with the final part of our deep dive. We'll be examining the wider implications of this conflict and talking about how we might be able to de-escalate things. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you don't miss out.
Okay, so we're back, and now we need to zoom out a little bit, look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, because this Israel-Iran conflict, it's not just about what's happening right now.
Right.
This goes back decades.
Yeah.
There's so much history, so many tensions between these two countries.
Yeah, it's not just about land or resources or anything like that.
It's about ideology, religion, power.
Right. And this latest escalation has everybody on edge.
Yeah. The whole world is watching.
What are other countries saying about this?
It's a mixed bag, really. Some are condemning what Israel's doing, others are backing them up.
Right.
A lot are calling for everyone to just chill out and try to talk it out.
Which makes sense, but is that even possible at this point? Well, that's where the international community comes in.
Yeah.
You've got organizations like the UN, the EU. They're trying to mediate, offer humanitarian aid, find a peaceful solution.
Right. But that's easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's got their own agendas, their own allies.
Right.
It's hard to get everybody on the same page.
And the big fear is that this could turn into a much bigger war.
Exactly. Especially with groups like the Houthis involved and with major powers like the U.S. already taking sides.
Right. One wrong move could set off a chain reaction nobody wants.
Exactly. So we need to understand what each player is thinking, what they want, what their limits are.
Right. Because right now we've seen financial warfare, military strikes, proxy wars.
Yeah, it's all escalating.
What can be done to de-escalate?
Well, first we need to get everyone talking.
Okay.
Build some trust, find some common ground.
That's going to be cut.
It's going to take a lot of effort from the whole international community. Got to be willing to have some tough conversations.
Yeah, and be willing to compromise. It's easy to forget sometimes that peace isn't just something that happens.
Right.
You have to work for
You
it.
have to keep working for it.
And it's not just governments and organizations that have a role to play.
Yeah, we all do.
Right.
We need to stay informed about what's happening, challenge our own biases, talk to each other.
Even just trying to understand the other side can make a difference.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up this deep dive, let's remember that this conflict is not just some headline in the news.
Yeah, real people are being affected by this.
Lives are being lost.
It's a global crisis.
And it's important that we stay engaged, stay informed, keep having these conversations, and most importantly, never give up hope for a peaceful future. Thanks for joining us on Quickcasters.